What's up, friends? I'm Jonathan Miller, and welcome back to Jonathan Miller Music, where we help each other become better artists. After a record-breaking 2023, Taylor Swift has already started 2024 off with even more historic wins, a Super Bowl champion boyfriend, and the announcement of a brand new album in the form of the Tortured Poets Department, proving to everyone she's not about to slow down anytime soon. I do a lot of album reviews on this channel, but I've never done a predictions video about what I think an album might be like before it drops. And who better to do that with than the icon herself, Miss Taylor Swift. Then I think it'd be fun to compare and contrast my thoughts in an album review and genre deconstruction after the Tortured Poets Department comes out on April 19th. Now, some of you might be asking, aren't you a K-pop channel? And to that I say, I do both. Unfortunately, only when it comes to music though, but that's beside the point. Anyway, hit the like button, subscribe if you're new so you don't miss any of my content, and drop me a comment letting me know what your thoughts and predictions are for TS11. Also, one last thing, make sure you're following me on TikTok because I'm going to be covering the entire international leg of the Eras Tour with recaps after every show so that you don't miss anything. With that out of the way, here are my thoughts and predictions for Taylor Swift's upcoming studio album, The Tortured Poets Department. Hi, it's Editing John. So while I was editing this video, Miss Taylor Swift decided to announce the Bolter and give us some new cover art because she's completely unhinged and likes to see me in pain. So unfortunately in this video, during the tracklist section, I will not be talking about the Bolter, but I will be on TikTok, so make sure you're following me over there. Okay, back to the video. The first thing I want to talk about is the overall art design. The album cover is stunning. The white border with the soft black and white aesthetic is gorgeous. White is most definitely the dominant color. And if you've seen any of my videos before, you'll know I talk a lot about color theory in music. White is technically the absence of color and has a multitude of things that it symbolizes. This includes things like honesty, purity, cleanliness, new beginnings, insight, protection, starting over, and freeing yourself from all of your burdens. In music videos, you'll typically see all white sets when the artist wants to give off a sense of vulnerability or to just really draw attention to the subject matter. Of course, these aren't hard rules and there's always exceptions, but color plays an important role in how music can be perceived. Given this, I imagine the Tortured Poets Department will be a bit of a confessional of sorts, in which Taylor will probably explore various dimensions of falling out of love with somebody that you thought was the one. This is further exampled by the very limited amount of images that we have at the time of this recording. On the cover art, she's laying in bed in what appears to be a melancholic state. Her hand sort of covers her stomach, which could symbolize anxiety or wrestling with something very difficult emotionally, especially because in this image, we can't see her eyes. Her clothing is light, symbolizing vulnerability. While I think you can say that this photo is sexy, I don't think that this image is inherently sexual in nature. It is stunning, like I said, though. In the part of the poster that we can see so far, we do see her eyes looking directly at the camera, almost like, again, she's been caught in a vulnerable moment. Then the back cover really plays up the tortured soul aesthetic that we sort of saw on Midnight's. Her hand is over her head to show that she's wrestling with something. The only other main color is black, and black can symbolize death, darkness, and more importantly, mourning. Based on this aesthetic alone, I think it's safe to assume that this album will explore Taylor as the protagonist in her music and her mental state wrestling with some sort of emotional upheaval that has caused all of this anguish she's trying to communicate. Now, a quick shout out to this video sponsor, DistroKid. DistroKid is one of the leading and best music distributors on the market, helping artists like you and me get our music up on platforms like TikTok, Spotify, and Apple Music. A longtime supporter of this channel and the distributor I chose when I dropped my latest track, The Story I've Waited to Tell, DistroKid lets you distribute as much music as you want without breaking the bank. Depending on which of DistroKid's 3 membership plans you decide is the best fit for you, you'll also get access to a gigantic library of additional features aimed at helping you grow, promote, and manage your career. One vital tool DistroKid offers is called Splits. Splits is where you can make sure that your collaborators get paid. Music oftentimes involves multiple people, so what's nice about this feature is DistroKid pays your collaborators directly, meaning you don't really have to do much when your royalties start coming in. Simply pick which release you want to add splits to and start adding your collaborators. You can even add people who aren't on DistroKid, making this super handy. So use my special VIP link to save yourself 7% on your first year's membership with DistroKid. Link is in the description. Taylor said she's been working on this album for 2 years and started on it right after she turned in Midnights to her record label, then continued working on it until she thought it was perfect throughout the US leg of the Eras tour. Now, I typically hate talking about personal lives and relationships of artists because I obviously do not know Taylor personally, and if I did, I probably wouldn't be sharing those details on the internet. So I want to make it clear that this section especially is all speculation. And I'm also not going to draw it out forever either. I'm not a gossip gotcha channel. If you want that type of content, there are other places on the internet for you, but unfortunately that place is not here. And that's okay. We'll see you in the next one. That being said, we know a few things that will most likely influence the subject matter on the Tortured Poets department. Her brief fling with Matty Healy, potentially her new relationship with Travis Kelce, but most likely the ending of her 6-year relationship with Joe Alwyn, which will probably take up the majority of the subject matter on this record. If you watched my retrospective on Midnights, you'll know I ended up basically classifying that album as a breakup album, given all of its heartbreaking undertones. I would, however, like to make a slight addendum to that with the new information that we have now. I don't think Midnights was entirely necessarily a breakup album. I think that album was more so the deconstruction of love. I think that album was more so about reconciling and trying to come to grips with a relationship that's ending. So not necessarily a breakup, but also not necessarily 100% falling out of love with somebody. It's more so realizing about you two have grown apart and you're trying to kind of figure out where that leaves you both. To my knowledge, Joe and Taylor have never really directly spoken about their relationship details and kept a lot of their relationship private, other than what we can infer from Taylor's songwriting. And honestly, they should. It really is none of our business. Like I said, we can infer things from Taylor's writing, which she has very much stated that her work is autobiographical, especially on Midnights, and minus the majority of Folklore and Evermore, although I still think that there are roots in her personal life on those records. And we all did hear You're Losing Me, also known as the song you play when life's making you feel like Cusco from The Emperor's New Groove, in this scene very specifically.
Now I just sit in the dark and wonder if it's time.
Taylor and Joe were together for 6 years. They met and blossomed their relationship at Taylor's lowest point in life and broke up as she began her meteoric ascent, in which, much to some people's chagrin, she has not really peaked yet. Either that or she's just outgrown the concept of a peak, but that's an essay for another day. My point is, a 6-year relationship of that magnitude during the time frame in which Taylor's career was growing and losing it for whatever reason, or buildup of reasons, is still a loss for both of them. Rebound relationships, gaining your independence back, finding a new solid one with someone who not only accepts the impossible to comprehend level of fame that Taylor Swift has, but embraces it and still lets her shine on her own, is still all part of loss and growth. This album was written during that 2-year span of those experiences for her, and given some of these track titles, I think the Tortured Poets department will ultimately be the breakup album. But knowing Taylor Swift, it probably won't be that cut and dry either, especially with the tagline, "I love you, it's ruining my life." The aesthetics of this album is like, well, a very sad version of this, but it instantly reminded me of All For You by Janet Jackson, which Taylor has referenced in Snow on the Beach. So my brain instantly thought pop R&B with Taylor's songwriting twist. She hasn't really done a lot of R&B before, and R&B is really popular right now, and we all know Taylor can do it. We all saw 3 Sad Virgins on SNL. Taylor has recently spoken, though, about still loving making pop music and how Swifties support her chameleon changes between genres. So I personally think that this album will primarily be a pop record, but with collaborations from Florence and the Machine and Post Malone, I think we're also gonna get some rock, rap, hip hop, hopefully R&B, with some of her folk, country, and alternative pop songwriting structures and styles. Fortnight will obviously reference the game because Taylor is a gamer, we all know this. Just kidding. I imagine this song will be a chill track with Post Malone singing, maybe doing a little rapping, potentially telling a love story that takes place over the course of 2 weeks, which is what a Fortnight is. It's the album opener, it's gonna be important, and I'm gonna guess she's gonna go with a softer open, much like the one on Folklore. The second song is also the title track, so it's clearly an essential song to the record. I imagine this either being a ballad or a bit more upbeat than the first song. I think lyrically it will discuss that vulnerability in the album artwork and that struggle of falling out of love with someone, while metaphorically comparing it to a writer's office known as the Tortured Poets Department. This may or may not parallel the internal struggle Taylor faced being hidden with Joe while she was with him. My Only Boy Breaks His Favorite Toys gives me upbeat energy, and I think we're gonna get some of Taylor's sass and sarcasm on this one. Down Bad I feel like could be slower, a little bit more edgy, not quite a ballad, but still mid-tempo. Could be about being into somebody that is not so good for you, or being into somebody against your better judgment. We'll just see. So Long London being track 5, I can tell you will already make me teary, regardless of what it sounds like. Taylor's track 5s always means something. She's written about London several times across her discography, from songs like Message in a Bottle to London Boy. Joe Alwyn was raised in North London, so this song is obviously going to be significant. London is where Taylor first cut her hair, propelling her to change genres and make 1989. It's a place that clearly has held a lot of significance for Taylor over the years. For her to be saying goodbye to it, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that this song will probably handle loss in a way that we have yet to see Taylor handle it thus far in her discography. And to all English Swifties out there, I will be thinking of you in April. But Daddy, I love him. The allusion to The Little Mermaid, where Ariel gives up her voice to fall in love with Prince Eric. I'm with a lot of other Swifties on this. This will probably deal with Taylor's quiet life with Joe versus Taylor's public life with Fame. Either that or it will be a bait and switch and it'll be just a satirical take on the whole thing. Fresh Out the Slammer gives me upbeat vibes and sarcastic Taylor vibes. Probably will be about how she felt returning to the spotlight, even more post-pandemic. Florida with Florence and the Machine has me very intrigued. Not sure why there are 3 exclamation marks about Florida of all places. Who knows what this song will be about? Maybe it's about feeling free in some way. We'll find out. Guilty as Sin, I think, will be a mid-tempo bop that wants you to think it's gonna be something sensual, but will actually have some much deeper introspective story to it. Who's Afraid of Little Old Me? Again, sarcastic and spicy Taylor. Probably comparing and parodying the size of her own fame and her reputation to Who's Afraid of the Big Bad Wolf. I Can Fix Him, No Really I Can gives me desperation vibes. Like the title makes you think it's gonna be sarcastic Taylor, but it'll be a bait and switch, really actually dealing with that pleading feeling that I think You're Losing Me touches on. LOML or Love of My Life, I think this song will be an introspective look as to what Taylor believes the love of her life looks like now as an adult versus what she thought it looked like as a teenager, and explore how that concept has evolved and grown as she has. I Can Do It With a Broken Heart gives me straight up pop ballad vibes, and I am prepared to cry when it's time to hit play for the very first time. The Smallest Man Who Ever Lived is going to be brutal in my opinion. She could do another bait and switch, it wouldn't be the first time she has, with some sort of loosely fictional based story, but I have a feeling Taylor's gonna be real honest on this one. That could be about anyone, not just Joe. The Alchemy, I believe, may draw comparisons to Daylight, since Alchemy is the transformation of some sort of base metal into gold, and in Daylight she compares love to being golden, which is an evolution of her thinking love was red. I think this song may return to that same thought, but with a new perspective. I don't don't think it will be an outright dig at Joe or anyone in particular, but I still think she's going to expand on the initial metaphor that was presented in Daylight and Red, especially given its track placement. Being the song before the album closer means something. Clara Bow is an interesting one. Clara Bow was largely considered to be the it girl of the 1920s, but her personal life became very tragic, unfortunately. A lot of people consider Clara Bow to be the personification of the Roaring '20s, as she was one of the few actresses who successfully transitioned from silent films into sound films. I believe this comparison will be the centerpiece to the song. It's the album closer, which means it definitely will be significant to the overall era. Taylor has made a lot of transitions in her life. Her quieter life with Joe to something more public with Travis Kelce, her transitions between genres, transitioning from a teen country star to an adult bona fide pop star. Maybe the song will have like a little twist, wondering what Clara Bow's life would have been like if Clara had gotten to enjoy her public life, kind of like Taylor is now. Either way, no doubt about it, this song is going to be very introspective into Taylor's life and the overarching message of her 11th era. The bonus track, The Manuscript, also seems to be significant since it's been highlighted so much in the promo materials we have so far. I'm gonna guess that maybe it will serve as some sort of prequel to the era and the story that the Tortured Poets department wants to tell, which is why it doesn't necessarily fit on the entire track list, but I think it will be necessary in order to understand the full entire thing. I of course predict this album will go #1 around the globe and stay on the Billboard Top 10 for over a year, just like Midnight's. I think she will use songs from this era as surprise songs during the Eras tour. I of course think it will help her extend her record-shattering, historic achievements and push her career to even more new heights. But above everything, I think one thing is for sure. The Tortured Poets department will absolutely wreck us as a fan base.